Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Balliet. I'm the City of Costa Mesa's consultant for solid waste, recycling, and state compliance. And I'm here to explain Senate Bill 1383 to you. SB 1383 is the most aggressive solid waste legislation the state of California has passed in the past 30 years. SB 1383 is going to impact residents, businesses, and property managers. It's designed to change the way you deal with solid waste. SB 1383 is looking to reduce the amount of organic waste we send to landfills by 75% by the year 2025. That is 20 million tons of material. What makes SB 1383 different than AB 939, which is the regulation that says, hey, we had to reduce waste going to the landfill by 50%. That law lets cities develop their own individual programs for reaching that goal. SB 1383, that statewide target, is very specific in what jurisdictions have to do. They have to do things or the jurisdiction will be fined. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over what the Costa Mesa requirements are. The city has to provide an organic waste collection program for all residents and businesses. We have to establish edible food recovery programs, conduct education and outreach to all affected parties. We have to plan for capacity facilities to deal with this material. The city has procurement requirements. We have to buy the material that we are diverting from the landfills. And finally, we have to inspect and enforce compliance. So let's get on with what the issue is the state is trying to address. This table here shows that organic materials, which for the state's purposes include paper, food, untreated lumber, cardboard, green waste, which would be your landscape trimmings. It's about 2/3 of the material that's going to the landfill. And of that, food at 18% is a huge component. In addition, we have food insecure individuals, 1 in 8 Californians and 1 in 5 children. That's why these regulations also address food waste donation. Edible materials, the state really doesn't know how much of what we discard is edible, but they are currently doing studies to develop that information. The driver for this is climate change. This actually has been building sometime in the state of California. Back in 2006, AB 32 and SB 32, the Global Warming Solutions Act, actually tied solid waste and the methane generated by organic materials breaking down as a short-term climate pollutant. That gave the state the authority then to start regulating solid waste as a climate impact. Back in 2012, businesses started to be mandated to have recycling programs. In 2016, with AB 1826, businesses and multifamily properties of 5 units or more started having to recycle their organic waste, although the multifamily folk only had to deal with green waste at that time. Now with these SB 1383 regulations, single family residents need to recycle their food waste, as well as multifamily residents, and any business that generates 2 cubic yards of waste per week or more. Now in Costa Mesa, we're a bit ahead of the game because residents are already recycling their food waste on the single family side, but we need to get after it on the commercial multifamily properties. So here are the important dates. By 2020, the state wanted us to reduce our organic waste landfilling by 50%. We did not hit that goal. That is why any business with 2 cubic yards of waste or more has to have a food waste recycling program starting January 1st, 22, when the regulations take effect. And then by 2025, that's when that 20 million ton total, which represents 75% of the organic waste we threw away in 2014, has to be diverted. 20% increase in the recovery of disposed edible food is also the goal there. And again, as I mentioned, the state is currently trying to quantify the amount of edible food that would entail. So the key implementation dates I just mentioned, this really shows the important date that the city is preparing for, January 1st of 2022. That's when the residential programs that are out there need to be right-sized. We need to make sure you're not throwing organic waste in your trash container. For businesses and multifamily properties, the voluntary period of being able to elect to sign up for an organic waste recycling program and a traditional recycling program, that ends. You will be getting containers and be having a program. Again, that's a requirement on the city from the state. And if we don't meet our requirements, we're fined and you have to be fined. Nobody wants to go there. We just want people to utilize these separate containers, keep the material from going to the landfill, and then life's simple. Okay, this lays out more of what the cities have to do. Again, we mentioned we have to make sure that there's a program provided to all residents and businesses. The edible food recovery program, just as certain large generators of food waste have to have a program. The city has to educate you every year on here are the opportunities to recycle your organic waste. Here's the entities operating in the jurisdiction that can handle your edible food for donation. Later this year, we will be getting actual amounts and products that the city needs to purchase as part of our procurement requirements. And again, we have to make sure that we have capacity places for this material to go. And then lastly, we do need to monitor what folks are doing to make sure we can report compliance levels to the state. I mentioned the edible food donation. These are the tiers of businesses and the types of businesses that will have to donate their food waste, the edible portion of their food waste. So that will include having some type of contract with a pantry, with a volunteer organization, someone to take that edible food. And again, that is a large undertaking, so there will be a lot of educational materials and coordination of resources that the city needs to do to help you be successful with that. As far as the collection services, you see here in the middle of the page, the 2-container system. That is what residents in Costa Mesa have currently in single-family properties and multifamily properties of 4 units or less. You have 1 cart for your green waste and your food waste, another cart for everything else. That puts that everything else cart under a high diversion rate requirement in the regulations. Basically, the facility that sorts that material has to show that 75% of the collected organic waste is being recycled. That may cause a switch to a 3-cart system or a 3-container system, which you see up top. That is most likely what you will get if you are a commercial multifamily property, 5 units or more, or if you are a business. In that system, the gray container would be for your trash. The green container is again for your organic waste, food waste, and or green waste. And then the blue container is recycling. If that level of separation is going on, then it does not have to go to a high diversion rate facility. Contamination monitoring is going to be a reality coming up. We're going to have to make sure folks are learning to put the organic waste in the organic waste container and not the trash. Again, that's how we'll divert 20 million tons. So again, we've mentioned enforcement and inspection. Basically, the city is required by law to pass an ordinance prior to January 1st, 2022 that mirrors these state requirements. In Costa Mesa's case, that ordinance should come before City Council sometime in April. Then 2022, 2023 is being advertised by the state as sort of a grace period. Focuses on education, changing behaviors. The state isn't mandating that the city fine people, although the state is still withholding the right to fine for non-compliance. January 1st of 2024, that all changes. Again, the fines come with a timetable, so you will certainly have an opportunity to do the right about face, to get a program in place and to train and participate properly. But there will be a state mandated process that ultimately results in penalties for violators that don't cure violations. So again, SB 1383 is a very wide-reaching legislation. It wants to change how we handle solid waste. The solution is simple. Recycle your material in a recycling container, have a separate container for your organic waste, and then keep that organic material out of the trash as much as possible. And we will get to that 75% goal. As it's been mentioned, education and outreach is a large focus for the city coming into the last part of 2021 and into 2022. We want to make sure everybody's aware of the programs, their individual requirements, and also providing any technical assistance on how best to train and motivate employees to meet these requirements. Again, my name is Mike Balliet. I appreciate your time and letting me explain this state legislation to you today. And hopefully we see each other. If you need some technical assistance, the city is here to help. And I want to thank you very much for your time today. So there you have it. That's SB 1383. Really, it's simple if you have the right program, and that's the city's responsibility to make sure that you have the containers for your food waste, for your other organic waste, for your recyclable material, and for your trash. The city will be here to help with technical assistance and education, and I look forward to helping in any way I can. And the city thanks you in advance for your cooperation and helping us comply with state mandates.